Welcome to the Air Moon Eris channel. I'm glad you could all join me for today's reading on how you can best protect yourself. So today we have 3 groups for you to choose from. We have group 1 with the tree. They're saying that this is representative of like home and hearth or hearth. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Group 2 with the symbol. And group 3 with the sea glass. So you can take a moment to choose whichever pile you feel the most drawn to. Sometimes it can be helpful to close your eyes and take a couple of deep, slow breaths and see if that provides any clarity for you. Everybody has a different way of choosing their cards and no way is wrong. So you can jump into the timestamps in the description to skip ahead to whichever group you choose, and we'll get started. Welcome group 1 if you chose the tree with the home or hearth message, however you pronounce it. Then this will be your reading on how to protect yourself or how to better protect yourself. Okay, so the first message that we're having is to make sure you're pouring into yourself through way of I guess nurturing supportive relationships and friendships. Allowing yourself to receive from those relationships. And taking comfort in your surroundings, regardless of where you may feel that you're at. Or maybe not that, maybe not your feelings, but just regardless of like what's happening or where you are at. I just want to note we definitely have strong Cancer here, Cancer energy as well, if that's relative for anybody. And that I think as long as you're able to like pour into yourself or allow yourself to receive through the relationships around you and what is it? I guess have gratitude for the things that we do have. And just those 2 elements together will really help us build like a wisdom that is kind of understated, that people don't really always value as a wisdom depending on where you live. But it could actually be really helpful to you in your situation. And I think it would really help you not only develop like a strong wisdom, but almost like develop a skill set that you get strongly recognized for, like a level of success. And for some of you, it could be like almost a strong level of like legacy or something. It will be different for everybody. Not everybody is going to have it to the extent or degree of legacy. Okay, now for some people it may not necessarily work out, and that's okay. It's okay to feel disappointed or grieve if that is the case for you. And it may put you at a crossroads where you're not really sure what to do and you feel like your only choices, like you're not really sure what to do with your choices, but like maybe it feels like picking up broken glass with each choice that you have available to you. So maybe there are like 7 pieces of broken glass and you don't know which one to pick up, let alone like, you know, which one to pick up first, let alone do you just pick them all up. And it's kind of hard to know how much we can carry, like between, you know, maybe where the glass was dropped and shattered to the bin at one time without cutting our hands. So there's definitely something to be like mindful of there, or just maybe what it is like take your time, do what you can, recognize your capabilities at the time. Don't push yourself. It's better to be safe than sorry for this particular message at the moment. And that strongly lines up with the message on like how to better protect yourself. So like, you know, supporting and nourishing yourself, allowing yourself to actually receive and be looked after by other people, taking comfort in the things that we do have, and a level of gratitude. I think sometimes it could just be like taking comfort, and maybe we want for more things, but, or more than what we have, but just understanding that right now is actually a time to just rest and ponder those things rather than go chasing after them. And then that energy in itself, it's like, it's a very feminine energy, and both of those like cards are representative of Cancer energy as well. So I think, you know, Cancer is known for being like rather nurturing and spending time at home. They're definitely like strong messages that I seem to be having come through here, and that it will definitely help you with like some sort of like knowledge, wisdom, or success, or something like recognition. And even if it ultimately you still feel disappointed in the outcome of whatever the situation is, maybe things just don't turn out the way that we wanted or thought that they would, you know, sometimes we're attached to the outcome. It can make it really hard to stop it, like help us get out of our heads, especially when we feel like we are posed at a crossroads and, you know, our only choices available to us, even if there are multiple, are all equally as, you know, dangerous or potentially threatening as each other choice. So yeah, there's something there. I just want to check one more thing here. Yeah, okay. Now, I think something that may help with this knowledge or recognition or success that's been mentioned is maybe coming at it from a point of, what is it like? It is taking action, and it's like doing the steps that we need to be almost like mentally organized or prepared or something like that, right? But also just being agile. It's kind of bizarre because it's like you want to have all the information available to you and then just take swift action. It's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. But I mean, you all know your situation better than I do, so exercise your discernment where you feel. But also don't make anything fit that isn't yours. It doesn't match your situation. Okay, and I think maybe some of you know the obstacles that you have had to overcome throughout this life have left you feel like you're carrying such a heavy burden that you feel stuck or oppressed by your position within society or your responsibilities or some sort of trappings, whether that's like, you know, trappings of society with things like, I don't know, I'm getting like very capitalistic type stuff, like trappings of mortgages on houses and loans on cars, and I guess secure jobs that are like permanent full-time type roles depending where you are. It's like the trappings of comfort are wounding your soul in some way, but there's like this part of you that just wants to be free from it, and it's like a really strong desire. I can sort of feel it coming up through the lower chakras, right? So it's like you do feel safe because of what you have, and that gives you the first step to a steady foundation, but you don't get freedom of expression to be who you are, or like that emotional vulnerability expression, or, you know, the ability to be creative or do anything outside of that, like allowing yourself to be safe. It kind of gives me the element of like restriction, and we've actually got Saturn here a couple of times as well. So it's like the restriction that we face on being ourselves and our true, authentic, real versions of ourselves, to keep the comfort that surrounds us or that provides, you know, to keep the security or comfort that we're seeking, or residing in at this time. It's like we don't want to potentially be ourselves in case we lose this comfort or security. Or maybe like there's a current level of protection, right? Because today's message is about how we can better protect ourselves. So maybe you've got like a first level or layer of protection here, and it doesn't matter what that looks like for you. Like protection is protection. So anything that helps you, I guess, on your path, that protects you from the outside world or from other people, or protects your health or well-being, something like that. Yeah. Anyway. What else do we have next? Okay, so the next thing was, because it kept going up through my chakras, so it gets to the solar plexus and that's where it stops, right? Because there's almost like a level of feeling like you may have to actually shut down. You may be feeling like oppressed in terms of having confidence and having like exercising willpower and things like that, right? So maybe you have like a strong drive and determination and willpower, but you can't do anything with it while, like, you can't really go after the things that you want or step into who you truly are or shine the light on yourself in the way that you're meant to be seen in this world. There's also something about like, it's definitely like making ourselves smaller. That's what it is. It's like making ourselves smaller so that we don't lose the comfort and security that we do have, because it definitely feels risky. It gives me the energy of not wanting to rock the boat, not wanting to be seen. Like, here's the thing, is that I feel like you're comfortable with yourself, but I feel like you're not comfortable with the people or the trappings around you in seeing you for what you are, because they could misconstrue it, or maybe they don't misconstrue it. Maybe they just don't have that depth of understanding of like who you really are. So like, yeah, maybe you are a really strong person. Like maybe you actually scare people, or you pose as a bit of a threat or something like that. And so people want to kind of keep you clamped down. They want to keep you give you enough to keep you comfortable and secure, so that you don't really want or look for more. And then I feel like if you do try to exercise more of being yourself, people will be very quickly to be like, you're being bad, get back in your cage. Or like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you're opposing my opinion and we are not having that around here. So you need to like stop and like, quieten down, or go back to your corner, or here's another fish, or like, I don't know, for example of like, if you were working with a jaguar, or I don't know if it's a jaguar or leopard, in like a zoo setting or something like that, whatever the food is that you would give them, just meat. For some of you, it's like other people are just happy to let you carry the load. They're uncomfortable with the world around them, and you're trying to make them comfortable. And by you trying to make them comfortable, they never grow and they never let you free. They will keep you where you are as long as it serves them. I feel like there's a promise of freedom here that isn't coming. And if it does come, it won't come for a long time until that use has been totally fulfilled. Okay. Look, there is a level here. I wonder for some of you if you're kind of experiencing a level of like restriction. What is it? Yeah, this group may have actually a lot of Saturn in their chart as well. We've got, what have we got? Saturn, Moon, Mercury. It's a bit of Mars. There's a lot of feelings, a lot of restriction, and a lot of like how we communicate. So it's like, we know how we feel, feeling very trapped and like restricted and being tamped down. And that we need to communicate what we need. And it's like, communicating what we need will be the thing that sets us free from this restriction. So now what I'm wondering is for the people that you have around you, because I feel like there is like 2 or 3 good people around you. This may not be the same for everybody. Maybe for some of you it's just representative of the need for 2 or 3 good people around you to actually pour into you, so you can like come back to life a little bit. it gives me the energy of a desert. Then all of a sudden the rain season comes and gives life to the desert, and it's like no one's poured into you for so long that when those rains finally do come, everything comes to life at such a pace or a rate that you just wouldn't recognize it as a desert anymore, because it almost turns into like a meadowland or something like that. So yeah, and I think that that recognition is what will allow all that energy in the lower chakras to move up a bit into your heart space. It'll allow you to sort of sit with yourself and have compassion for yourself. Sometimes we don't say yes to the help that we need out of fear of the help not being the help that we you know, maybe like we feel like asking for the help or accepting the help will come with a trapping. So maybe we see that the help will really help us and it will help us get comfortable. Even if it's not all the things we want, it may be enough to help bring us back to life a bit, or just, you know, take rest to regain our strength, or like take time to like ponder the things that matter to us and like recognize where we're at so that we can move on and be grateful for the things that we have and everything. It's kind of like the being grateful for the experiences we've had in life, even if they've been really raw. It's like we find that within ourselves because there's like a real true character. It's like I almost get the energy for this group as like Braveheart, like really strong fire in your heart energy. Yeah. And that when you let the people pour into you, or you accept the help, or you seek the help in whatever way that looks like. I do get the essence here of you almost being immobile in this situation. So if someone offers you help, it's like that spirit's asking you to say yes. They're asking you to accept it, be grateful for what you get. I feel like there has to be a better way than saying be grateful for what you get, because I feel like it's thrown around in such like a nonchalant way, and it in itself can almost be like a trigger, right, for those of you that experience that. So it is just like acceptance, okay? I think that's much better. It's like acceptance of where we're at and knowing what we want and what the next step is to move forward. And that's what will help us like have a level of like that sort of recognition, success, and knowledge. It's like that knowledge helps get you to the next part. Maybe that knowledge helps you actually communicate and take action to do the things you need to do, so that you can start to like move forward. And then even if you're met with some level of like disappointment and you're feeling the weight of that oppression in whatever form that shows up as, you might feel like you're at the crossroads and left to pick up the pieces, but it's kind of the way through it. It's like the way through the tunnel, or the way through the dark until we get the light at the end of the tunnel, or the way through our journey. I don't see, this is the thing with this group, I don't see a way around this. I don't see a way to circumnavigate this or circumvent this situation. I feel like the only thing you can do is allow and accept the help that you've got. Don't be scared at the cost that the help is going to come at, because right now you can't do anything without it anyway. At least if you accept the help, you like get to a level of, you know, having a level of like health or ability or capacity to be able to like fight the fight coming forward, right? Because the thing is that when you let this like oppressed jaguar or like whatever this big cat animal is, I should probably look in the book and find out so and know that I'm quoting like the right animal. You don't want to let this beast out of the cage, because it will come for you, right? So like just this little bit of help that you have to accept, and it will really give you the strength back that you need to actually like push through. Now obviously again, this message comes with like using your own discernment, taking responsibility for our lives, and recognizing that you know your situation better than anybody else does. So we'll have a look at this 10 of what is it, the oppression card, and see what we get. Do you know, and as I talk about this, I feel like all that fire in my heart start to like, it's still strong, but it's less of a burn and it's more of a strength, okay? So it's kind of like the way forward to channel that energy to help ourselves is like using that fire in our heart to like really fuel how we're going to move forward, because I feel like that's where a lot of your strength is really going to come from in these times. It's like, you know, some of you may have experienced this for such a long time you don't think it's possible, but that fire is still there if you can hit the right chord, okay? If you can water that desert, accept the water, like, you know, when it rains, the desert doesn't say, no, please don't rain on me. The desert is forced to be like, you know, it's forced to just be a part of the situation. It doesn't get a choice, right? Maybe you're in that level situation where you don't actually get a choice in the help you receive, and it's help no matter what it looks like. Maybe you didn't want to get flooded with, you know, maybe it comes in a way that you were not expecting, or you don't really want to receive that help from that person or something like that. But there's kind of an essence of being subject to the help that we're given. Alright. Some of you may need to be like seeking more support for yourselves so that you're able to better navigate this situation and recognize what help is good help, and to help you exercise that discernment when you're trying to, you know, look at your options of what help you need. So, okay, back to this. Okay, so the keywords that we have for this oppression is dogmatism, fixation, problems with authority, struggle for power, law and order, repressed aggression, structure, exaggerated need for control, lack of discipline, inability to focus, meaning, okay, this is what we wanted. So all of our wishes, desires, impulses, and drives crash land right into reality. We are asked to curb our frustration, take a reality check, and work out a compromise between what we want and what is realistically possible. Do you know, I don't even know if, like, I feel like the book was helpful in maybe for some of you in this group, but the energy that I really get here is this is a beast that can't be held back, and the fact that it's in this trapping in the first place is kind of, I don't know, maybe like a testament to your situation or something that you've had to come up out of. Yeah. So it sort of speaks to that Saturn energy again, where like maybe your home environment when you're starting out in life was really restricted, and maybe as like you're getting older, it's like that restriction's letting go a little bit and you're starting to have more freedom, but you just don't recognize it because the cage still looks like the cage even if it's bigger, something like that. I'm not sure. But also there's like a Sagittarius or Sagittarian type energy here, and just good luck trying to hold down a Saggy. Yeah, maybe that's how you feel, like a repressed Saggy. So maybe for some of you that stands true to some of your natal chart or something there. Okay, we're gonna take one last card out of the Light Seers. Here we go. It's like competition, but I don't really see it as competition. I see it as like fighting for your own inner light, fighting for your own strength, fighting for your freedom. It's like other people may try to pull you down, and all you can do is pull yourself back up. There's something here about this group feeling like, not feeling, that's the wrong word. There's something in here about this group having been like a victim to circumstance, right? Where like, if your circumstances were better, you wouldn't be in this situation. And I totally acknowledge that and recognize that. So I hope that, yeah, I hope maybe that can help give clarity, like, or give a sense of feeling seen or something like that. Because our situation can really determine how we can handle and move forward. And the thing is that they're asking us, they're saying, like, your situation was put here for growth, but also we recognize, like, the level of, like, this strength, or this, like, heart, this sort of fire in your heart, brave heart type of energy that is required to be channeled to like push through the situation. It's kind of like a testament to who you are when you make it through the other end, okay? So they're like, we recognize that this is hard, when by no means saying that this is not hard for you. We know it is, and we've still got your back, and the best thing you can do to actually protect yourself is to really like pour into yourself, accept the help, have that like bit of time where you get acquainted or accept your situation so that you can start taking steps to move forward. I feel, do you know what it feels like? It feels like the only like way out of this is, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like you can't get out of the cage if you just sit on the log, okay? So it's like, we know that you're stuck in a cage on the log, but you've got to try. And I know that that can be like a kind of full-on proposition for a lot of situations out there. Life is not always so kind. Okay. Saying it doesn't matter what order these come out in, so it might be more about the energy of each individual card rather than how they stack up. We'll see what we get. Okay, so making sure we take time to go to look inwards and build. It's like taking that strength and wisdom from within ourselves. There's something here. It's like we haven't spent enough time. I don't know. It's like maybe you don't realize that you're like the light in the dark, and that's kind of why you've been tamped down a bit. I definitely get the energy here of other people doing what they can to keep you where you are. Whether they know it or not is not necessarily the point. I would say we shouldn't necessarily just demonize everyone around us. Some people don't realize like the subconscious self-sabotaging patterns of behavior that they enact in the world. The next thing is just to be grounded in our circumstances and how we move throughout the world. And sometimes it means just that, taking time to sit with where we're at. Look, like, you know, if you could, for the lack of a better explanation, try to come into your body. Just like stop whatever you're doing. Like look around, like look around the room, look around the, I don't know, the house, wherever you are. Stop what you're doing. Take a second to look around. Take a breath and just be like, oh, this is where I am. Like, oh, I'm in my home. Oh, I'm at the park. Oh, like I'm at work right now, or so, I don't know, wherever it is that you are at this point. And just that breath and that looking around and being present can help draw us back in. And I think there's like a level here to say that like anything lost won't be in vain, even though it may really truly feel like it. It will only, like, if it feels like a loss to lose this kind of restricted like setting or surrounding or group of people, whatever it is, whatever this situation is that's keeping that feeling of like oppression and restriction, it may feel like you're losing your world. Maybe you kind of do lose like most things around you, but they're saying there's like a much better outcome here than staying where you are. Maybe there's like a level of like, once that false foundation is taken apart or torn apart, that you will build such a strong, solid foundation. And like, it's kind of like a level of like, through your freedom, like it's like you really value that creative expression. And by pouring into your creative expression, not only does it help bring you back down to earth and back into your body to help you feel safe within the world and secure, it helps kind of funnel that energy towards something positive which you can actually build upon. And then it's kind of like a cycle that like feeds back into each other. So I kind of see like the infinity sign, where it's just like the loop is feeding back into itself, so that all of these aspects keep tying back into itself. So it's like you're creative and you're safe, and then you're like building on it, and then, you know, the building on it makes you feel secure, and it breeds more creativity, and it's just this like infinite loop of energy building and feeding into itself. And there's like so much growth to be had from it, and I don't think you realize maybe how valuable you really are. Yeah. Okay, I'd just like to touch on this tree. I don't know what you even call this, but it's like a clip. Anyway, the tree has no roots, and I feel like maybe that's where you're at the moment, is like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like, there's two ways I look at this. The first way is that the tree has no roots, and you're by right growing your own roots, because maybe so far you're kind of on a foundation of somebody else's roots. And the other way that I look at it is that this situation is kind of keeping you root bound, and it's not until you're free of it that you grow your own. That's kind of the same thing. Maybe it needed to be said in a couple of different ways for different people here. Yeah. For some of you, it's kind of releasing the roots that you already have in place. But yeah. Okay. So that's everything that I have for you today, group 1, on how you can protect yourself. And this is kind of a roundabout message, right? And this happens at different times when I try to do messages on like different scenarios or topics or situations. So it's like, I think we sort of went over that a couple of times, is like accepting the help that we can get so that we can really nourish ourselves enough to be able to like take action. And yeah, it's kind of like, you know, it kind of gives me the energy of nourishing, allowing ourselves help or nourishment to sustain over the long period, because this may take a while to get through. That's another thing with Saturn, it's like quite slow. So this may be like a gradual process over time that you are having to navigate. So it's kind of nourishing yourself for the long haul or the long run here. Maybe for some of you, it's just a call to really like make sure that you have those close connections around you when they come up. Like maybe you don't have them right now, maybe they do come up, and you find maybe it's like they're telling you that there is going to be these 2 or 3 people come into your life at different points, and to be keenly aware of who is pouring into you and who is not, because sometimes it can feel like people are pouring into us when they're telling us things that we might want to hear, but the reality of the situation is that telling us things that we want to hear and a person's actions and how they show up for us when we need the help is very different. Yeah, so it's like choices, we're making long-term choices that are going to pour into ourselves for longevity, for a better outcome. Yeah, and that's how we're going to protect ourselves, I guess. It makes me think that this pile is in for a bit of a longer journey here, and that sometimes really solid relationships or friendships or whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it's like family or a partner or a friend. I do get the instances that this is like less romantic and maybe more platonic relationships. It's just people around us. It doesn't really matter who it is. But it's like sometimes when we really have nothing, the few good relationships that we have around us might be the only things that do actually feed into us or keep us going when the chips are really down. So yeah. Okay, my heart goes out to you all, group 1. Good luck with your situation. Take care. Feel free to share in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe if it resonates for you, and I'll see you all in another video. Hey, welcome group 2 to your reading on how to better protect yourself. Please remember that this is a general reading only. It is not necessarily as accurate as a personal private reading. Just there are so many people in the group that we're allowing for a number of different scenarios that are feeding into this collective energy. Okay. So, I definitely got the feeling of this group being maybe like my more spiritual group out of the 3. And the Om or Om symbol, however you say it, was actually like the item of choice for the 3 out of, like, you know, for group 2 out of the 3 groups. And to me, the symbol just speaks of like universal consciousness, and it's just like it's everything. It's like the osmosis and equilibrium of the world, and it's like how interconnected everything is, and the divine. And I just like, it's an unlimited way that I can't do it justice with like the vocabulary that I have access to. It is in essence like everything. You know, like spirit enacts in such a holistic way, or totalic way. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway. Okay. Oh, I need to tell you, this group, a story about how I got this pendant. So I was like walking on a beach in Byron Bay of all places. Like, I try not to be cheesy, right? And it's just like where it happened. I'm not from Byron Bay. I don't even live down that area. I lived in Brisbane for a little bit. This is in Australia, for those of you who aren't familiar. And I feel like Byron Bay is known as a place that, you know, if you wanted to get in touch with some like alternative or spiritual type people, it could definitely be a place that people would recognize that for. But it's also like a great, I don't know, maybe like a tourist destination as well, because like the beaches and everything like that. Yeah, anyway, so moving on. About like the people too, like it's a different, like I grew up in Queensland, and it's just such a different place to be in Byron Bay than what it is in other parts of Queensland, or, you know, Australia at least anyway. So there's that. And I feel like the point of this is not to just talk about Byron Bay, because it's so many different things to different people, right? Especially when I'm not really familiar with it. So what it was is like walking along the beach and finding this random pendant on the beach, and you know, it's not something that I would normally do, is like pick up, like it was like half buried in the sand, and it looked like it had been there for a while. Like, it looks pretty old and kind of tarnished and like maybe weathered or a little bit eroded or something like that. It's kind of weird to pick up like a piece of jewelry or a pendant that's just like laying on the ground, and it was sort of half covered in the sand, and I seen it, and I don't know why, but I was like, oh, that's mine. Like, I just had this knowing or this feeling that it's supposed to be mine. And what it represented for me is that when I did sort of get back in touch with spirit, because at that time I don't think I recognized myself as like a intuitive person, or I wasn't in touch or open to like with spirit in the way that I am now. Like that connection to the divine was very closed off in my conscious mind, if that makes sense. And so when I did have my I don't know, air quote, awakening, if you will, I had this moment of realization of looking back at like a stream of events that had played out in the exact specific perfect way, even if they weren't great events, in a timeline like manner or fashion. And this was one of the pivotal moments that I seen, was like when I picked this pendant up, and it was like had great meaning. And do you know, after I found this pendant, before this awakening happened, I used to do a lot of gardening, and I had like a planter, like a display piece type planter, that I actually had this pendant displayed in, and I loved it. I purposely put it there so that I could see it often, and that it was like a part of something beautiful, like a beautiful creation. So anyway, so I'm just seeing if there's no, okay, so that string of events was basically what they wanted me to, it was the main purpose of that. So sometimes we can have those like higher states of consciousness or moments of realization where we look back over the things that have happened in our life that may have seemed so like small or unnoteworthy, that later on actually stack up to be one of the most pivotal points of our lives. And I don't know if that really makes sense, or if I've done it justice in the way they wanted it explained, but it means a lot to me. And it's so bizarre too, because I come from, like, you know, Australia's like a westernized culture, and I think sometimes people will see different spiritual symbols and it can be kind of trendy in a new age way to embrace these like the symbolism of things like the Om or Om symbol, however you say it, without really understanding like the deep meaning behind it and where it comes from. And I did do a little bit of looking into it at different points in time, and I can say I have done like sound healing meditations where we're actually like doing the humming of like the sounding of the AUM, and I can, like, I'm quite sensitive to energy, and I can feel the vibration like of the energy and shifting up through my body through different points, and it is really helpful in grounding and clearing energy. And part of me wants to say like bringing us back down to earth, but making sure we're clear. So hopefully that was helpful for whoever that was for. And there's also a note here they're wanting me to point out of like that recognition of who we are is kind of perfect in how we show up in the world. Like, spirit wants us to be ourselves. They wouldn't have made us the way that they did if they didn't, okay? And it's hard to build on authentic, genuine connections if we're not being our authentic selves. Okay, now that we've got that part out of the way, we can move on. So maybe for some of you, you could be, I'm not really sure where these timelines are going to sit, right? So I'm just going to point that out. For some of you, this is maybe where you're at right now, and some of you may be a little bit further down, like you've already done some of the work. But there's kind of like a wanting to hold on to things and to not be vulnerable, not be open to different things, kind of in a state of living out of fear. Like, we don't want to let go of old situations or old, maybe for some of you it could be like a message of not wanting to let go of like whatever our material possessions are, or our material type lives, material focused lives, I'm not really sure, something like that. It definitely kind of represents, and this is a bit of a bizarre message because I felt for group 1 that there was like some sort of message of like capitalism coming through in different ways, like the trappings of capitalism, at least in the way that I've experienced it in Australia at this time. So there could be a link there for some of you to group 1 if you already felt drawn to it. I would take this as confirmation. Anyway, moving forward, so some of you may be really attaching yourselves to these like physical material possessions, and what you don't realize or recognize is like the freedom that it could have if you were able to let go or detach from the outcome or the item or object, whatever it is. For some of you, it could be things like security and foundation, and you know, that can be really hard to detach from when our survival depends on it. And I think, like, I don't know how to best communicate this situation. Like, maybe we know that we need a house to live in, and that's a pretty significant thing. We need shelter. Everyone needs shelter, okay? It's like a bare basic needs. And you know, especially if you've got kids, and you can't ask someone to forego their shelter to like put themselves out in the cold so that they, like, you know, are exposed to different risks, or it makes them even more vulnerable than what they maybe were before they leave the shelter. And I guess what they're saying is maybe they're asking you to let go of what that shelter looks like. Maybe there is an option that isn't necessarily what we value or deem worthwhile, but there's an option we're not seeing because we're so busy holding on to the thing that we need out of like fear. And this is kind of giving me in this reading a feeling of like our needs being for specific needs. And I don't know, I'm going to do my best at this to try to like pull it through in a way. So there's obviously shelter, there's like food and water, What else do we have? Like, safety. Like, we need to not have, you know, people hurting us. And then, like, a level of, like, things that help us with our health. So if it's, like, in the middle of winter, you need blankets, okay? So I guess, no, that would be part of shelter. There's something I'm missing here. You know, we need to eat, drink water, breathe. We need shelter. We need safety. Oh, do you know, it could be like almost a part of, like a place within. Sometimes we need other people. I don't know if that's a message. I'm having a hard time putting my finger on what this fourth thing is. It could be just like for some of you, it could actually be money or something to trade to help you, like, buy the food or pay. It's kind of like that. And that is, you know, you can see here in this picture that this person is like holding on to one of the pentacles. The other pentacles are kind of freely sitting where they are. And the money is what we need to be able to like maintain the things that we already have. Okay, so that would make sense. So it's like, maybe for some of you, not particularly, like, we're obviously attached to all the outcome of all of our needs being met. But what it really comes down to, or is being funneled down to, is that we kind of have these few basic things. Like, we have food and water, we have the shelter, and we have the safety, but we need the money to maintain it. And what they're kind of saying is that maybe you don't have to spend it. Maybe you just have to release the level of control or power it holds over your life, or something like that. I don't know. I feel like I'm butchering this, and I'm just going to move forward and come back to it if there's still energy. What is it? They're saying that this person needs help, so like you may need help. They're specifically saying he needs help, so some of you may have a masculine or male around you that needs help with his health. So that makes sense, right? Health is pretty foundational. With his heart. I just want to take this point before I go forward any further to say, you know, don't try to make something fit to your situation that doesn't. If it doesn't resonate, like, just leave the message. Don't try to make it apply. And that I obviously have no sort of medical background here. So if it's something that you would be worried about, you could seek like the appropriate medical profession, like, what is it, help that you need to be able to actually, like, you know, find out or move forward with that in a way that's helpful. And I'll just, like, the other thing is too, we all actually have a responsibility to exercise discernment in our lives, and you know your situation better than I do. So if this doesn't make sense to you, don't let it scare you, just move on. And if you're worried, you can, you know, get that medical help. They're saying that his heart is heavy with the burdens he bears. He doesn't let anybody in. He doesn't let anybody out, including himself. His expression is void. And his glare is vacant. And his soul, is this right? His soul is a empty shell of who he once was. And everything before him isn't as it seems. And if he could put down the pinnacle he holds, he would be able to move more freely. And this would help him gain the abundance that he seeks. That's it. Okay, there you go. That's the message. That's what it was. Okay. Alright, let's see. Some of you, this might like weigh heavy on your heart because I'm instantly getting sad. Like, I don't I don't know if this is your sadness for someone in your life, or if this is your own sadness around whatever situation it is. Maybe this is the sadness that the person feels that I'm kind of tapped into. It's like really heavy. They've been holding on to it for like a really long time. I don't think they know how to let go of it, otherwise they probably already would have. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to move forward. I think they struggle with the concept of knowing anything else. And that they've had to try to like, I think they've had to survive or be in survival for like a very long time. I think there's certain expressions that we can take for granted that we don't realize they are. The people that come before us, right? Like maybe it's their parents, maybe for some of you this is like a father, or just another, it doesn't have to be male, but it could be like a masculine energy. So maybe some of us have like a mother who lives in her masculine, I'm not sure. It's like really painful for them to sit with it and to be able to like hold like be in this energy, or to like move forward or let go of it, and like in order to move forward with it. And I think sometimes the things that we take for granted, our parents or the people that helped us or came before us don't have that same, they didn't have that privilege, they weren't given that ability. Yeah. Okay, so for some of you, this person that we're talking about, whether it's yourself or a person around you that's maybe had like significant impact on your life, it could definitely be you. It definitely feels like maybe there's like a strong link here to group 1. Like this person wasn't afforded the ability to ever have or want more than those basic needs met. Okay. I feel like I'm kind of acting like a surrogate for the emotions that are coming through from it. It's like their version of how it feels, or how they want to be expressed, or how they want, it's like the level of like how painful it is for them to open up or talk about it. If we can all just, if this is affecting you, or you're feeling some of these feelings too, maybe take a moment to just close your eyes and take a breath, and we'll try to ground together. Okay, let's do this. Alright. So it seems like that's a starting out point, or like a bit of a history on the situation. And we're sort of getting like, sometimes beggars can't be choosers, and sometimes paupers cheat us, or something like that. I'm not sure I understand it. And sometimes we have to like give to those less fortunate than us and hope that they return the favour when the shoe is on the other foot. But I feel like at this point, most of us are beggars can't be choosers in this group. You'll know what applies to your situation. If you're unsure, maybe don't try to make it fit. We'll just keep moving and see if the rest of what comes through helps you. And yeah. For some of you, this foundation could have been a community or a cultural aspect, like foundations on what your culture was actually built on, and that this person's sort of afraid to stray or go against the grain of whatever these like cultural values or aspects are, because they're afraid that like they're not going to be valued. So like they rely so much on this community or their position or standing within community that they keep themselves trapped in terms of feeling like, you know, being the beggar, and the beggar doesn't have a choice. They take what they're given. It's like somebody else is like holding a level of contribution over them, and this might not be relative to a specific person. It might actually be representative of how the society is structurally set up. For others of you, this may be a very real situation where there's someone in your life that is kind of using their ability to give and provide as a way or a means to, you know, keep people limited in some type of sense. Although they're acting very just and balanced, just because they are giving doesn't mean that they are actually just and balanced. Some of them may be taking things from you that you don't realize that they are, when you've done nothing but be kind. Okay. And the reality of the situation is that this scenario that's playing out is keeping you in some sort of like loop of emotions, like deep emotions. It's like almost got like an emotional control or weight over you, or maybe it's like the weight on the shoulders that keeps you in your sadness or something, and there's trying to find a way out through like monetary possessions, or maybe you think that like a job or a paycheck or something like that, like maybe a better job or a higher paycheck, will help you leave this situation. Like you're giving value to the wrong thing here, but it's all we've ever been taught, and if that's what we've been taught, we don't know any different. And yeah, I think Spirit's asking you in this situation to have a level of like compassion and be really balanced in your stance, and understand that not everything is meant to be understood. Some things are outside of our own perception, like our ability to perceive the world around us, because it operates from such a higher level of consciousness that it just doesn't make sense to our human lives and our brain and like our needs within the physical world. And it's not a call to negate our needs, but it is a call to not only ever pay attention to our needs. And I can recognize for people that this could be like a really I don't know, like, yeah, we'll just move on anyway. For some of you, there could be like a strong Sagittarius energy coming through here, and it could, like group 1 had that as well. So I think at this point, if a lot of this is resonating, it's probably a good chance there's a message for you in group 1 as well. Or it might shed light more on that person if that person is separate from yourself that we were talking about. And that sometimes harnessing our emotions, or like those situational circumstances that put us in our feelings, and the experience and learning that like fluidity to kind of, I like refer to it as kind of like a roll with the punches, but it's kind of like the ebb and flow of life, of like, you know, just moving with it to be adaptable. And the path of least resistance is usually less painful, and or it conserves our energy or something like that to help us sustain the, you know, energy in the long run, or like our level of capacity in the long run. Yeah, so capitalizing on our, like recognizing our situation for what it is, having compassion for ourselves, allowing ourselves to be like fluid or flexible within the, you know, there's like a level of what we can control in our lives and a level of what we can't control. And I feel like these first 2 situations here is probably not what we can control, but what we can work with, what we have some level of influence over in our lives, in our emotional realm, is maybe how that energy is channeled, or what we do with it, or how resistant or fluid or flexible we are with that energy, like with that emotional capacity. And there is such a thing as being too full, where your capacity is kind of limited. And maybe that's at a point where you realize that you surrender to your situation, or you accept it, or you just it's like I was saying, kind of rolling with the punches energy, doing what you can to make it easy on yourself, and that's that self-compassion that they're asking us to have. And I think when you get really adept at learning this fluidity and like acceptance and going with the flow, that's what it is. It's kind of like that wanting that control, or control of an outcome maybe, right? So you might not be trying to control a person, but you might be really attached to the outcome of a situation so badly because of how much it affects you that all you can focus on is that outcome. And it's kind of teaching you to just go with the flow, right? Like, we can't, you know, there's a level, like what I was saying, of what we can control and what we can't, and there's some stuff sort of a blurred line in between of what we maybe can influence but we can't directly control. And it's like, when we can learn to go with the flow, we can conserve some of our like capacity and our energy for the future, so that we give ourselves like more longevity and availability. And it's like the greatest kindness we can do ourselves, or the greatest level of security we can give ourselves in those very empty situations, is filling up on that going with the flow to give us the ability to go with the flow more later, okay? So things don't have to look a certain way. We can be kind to ourselves regardless of where we're at, even if it's not where we want to be or we think we should have done better. It doesn't matter what it is. There's like no judgment. It's just being, and it's just where we're at. And we just accept that maybe sometimes it wasn't perfect. Maybe sometimes we realize that we had really high standards. Maybe sometimes we realize that we was acting out of fear so much in our lives that we let it control us. And maybe the tip here is to just like embracing that go with the flow, letting go of the anxiety. Maybe, I don't know, for some reason I keep getting examples of like little kids' behavior coming through. So like, maybe the young child doesn't always say please and thank you, and maybe that's like something that is valued in society, or, you know, within the family construct or something like that, is to have like well-mannered children, and that it is like a valuable skill to have in life, because we do need to be able to work together with people and demonstrate appreciation and give thanks for those that help us, right? It's definitely important. But maybe for the couple of months of like hardship that we experience in life, for some of you it might be a couple of years, that's okay, it doesn't matter. It might not be about kids. This is just an example of what I'm trying to convey. But maybe for like that couple of months, we choose our battles. Like we pick, or maybe right now the manners thing is a real challenge, but we already are met with all these other challenges, and these other challenges are kind of more important to our child's well-being right now. So maybe we have to fill up on, like, help them fill up on their well-being right now. And then when that like period of hardship eases up a bit, we can get back to focusing on things like the manner and stuff like that. And look, this is something like, you know, if you have children specifically, like, you know, like what you value and what might apply to your situation, and we all have like responsibility for discernment within our own lives. I feel like this is like, I don't even know how many times I've said this already, and we're only in like group 2, but like what I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. This is just the message that's coming through. It might not look like that exact example, so it might not be about your kids' manners at all. All you can do is take from that analogy what you will. Maybe use it as like a way of confirmation if you already were kind of experiencing something similar. And I don't know, we do what we can, okay? So yeah, all right. Now, what do we got? For some of you, it's like allowing yourselves to express that we've gone through hardship and be vulnerable. And some of us, it's allowing yourselves to be really emotional or even overly emotional. Maybe some of us, we like don't want to cry in front of other people, or we feel like we're putting other people out or making them uncomfortable. Do you know what? If your life is falling apart and you're crying, like, why is that your problem. Like, why does it need to be a problem at all? Why, if people are around and they don't like it, they can move away. You know, I don't know, that's not, what am I trying to say? Sorry, I feel like some of the messages coming through are kind of choppy, and I just want to make sure that we're getting it as clear as possible. Okay, so we got you valuing your emotions so much that they're getting the better of you. And sometimes it's okay to let go. And it may feel like poor emotional hygiene, but it's not. At least not right now, okay? That's what they're saying. Alright, so now we've done that, we can move on. I think for a lot of you, you'll actually find like a really strong sense of freedom if you're able to actually like surrender to the situation and go with the flow. Yeah, there's like a balance is restored. We're able to let go. We feel more free. There's kind of like a level of like insight here that wasn't present in any of these stages. And look, I do feel like when I'm looking at these different stages, it feels like you are moving up in places from like denser vibration right the way through until something a lot lighter, maybe like an actual higher state of consciousness. Yeah. I'm getting some sort of side note here about some of you may, if you're not already, you may have like values that come to you later of like, you know, being connected with like humanitarian or philosophical aspects or something like that. And that's if you're maybe not already involved in some sort of like spiritual practice or religious beliefs or something like that. I'm not really sure what it is. Maybe some sort of strong connection to the divine, no matter what that looks like for you. Yeah. Okay. Now that we've got that, we're going to take a message. Yeah. We're not taking them. We're going to keep shuffling because that was not a good shuffle. No. There we go. That's what we want. Okay, so some of you are on the brink of deciding about study, or you maybe like currently are studying and you're wondering about whether you should drop it or what to do with it, or if you're to change. It's like there's a choice between study and something else. And so the study might not actually look a certain way, like it might not just be going to university. This study could just be like a deeper learning or understanding on something that's of strong interest to you. I feel like you could really get carried away with this. This almost gives me the essence of like an infatuation with a topic or something that like maybe is kind of inspiring. What's the word? It definitely seems like infatuation, but maybe something that's like kind of really mentally engaging or stimulating to you. Like maybe you get really curious, like you really want to learn about whatever this topic is. And that if you are trying to decide between, what are these two choices? Are there two choices to learn? Okay, they're saying it's not two choices to learn. It's like learn or do something else. So depending where you are, what your life is like, this could be like learn or work, or it could be like learn or parent, or learn or have a life of more time. I'm not sure. And you could be like really getting in your head about like what choice to make here. And they're kind of saying it doesn't matter what choice you make as long as you make one, because in all areas of our life, no matter what we do, if we move forward, there's going to be like a level of like sacrifice to something, some aspect of it, okay? So it's like, even if you choose not to study, you've made that choice not to study. So maybe, you know, or not to learn about that thing, or not to look into it. So later on, you may have, you know, you may have had a life that was really comfortable, where time was really free and easily available, and you got to do things that you wanted. But then time passes and you look back and you're like, well, I'm still where I was at yesterday. Like this choice almost still looms over my head because I actually never took action on it. And I think this is a message about taking action, if any. So Some of you, this learning, so it's maybe learning, I keep saying study, but it could just be learning. It doesn't have to be like a typical form of study. Whatever this learning is like definitely helping you. And you know, Sagittarian energy is, I think, quite well known for like wanting to learn and take in knowledge and having like a strong knowledge basis. Yeah, like illuminated thought or illuminated knowledge. There's, yeah, like maybe a deeper understanding, I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so we're going to take one more card. I'll do one more. Okay, that's it. That was so much for one card. It was one more card pull. I'm not going to show one of these cards just because of the content on it, but for some of you, there may be bad habits keeping you back. I don't know why the card here of like marrying for money has come out. So maybe for some of you, it's like kind of stepping away from the hand that feeds you to find, like, you know, it might cause a lot of upset, but it also gives you freedom in turn. And, you know, maybe leaving an empty marriage will leave you bankrupt. And I'm not sure who this creep is. Is it you or them? It's them. They may be checking up on you or seeing how you're doing or something. I'm not really sure what that is, but no matter how much they try to keep an eye on you, just dust it off. Just let it go. Get rid of it. But whatever this bad, there's specifically some sort of bad habit here. It says it could just be like some sort of toxic situation, like toxicities or addictions. Could be drugs as well, but whatever it is, it's a bad habit. And so I would say at this point, it seems like almost like a self-sabotaging energy, but maybe we just don't realize that we're sabotaging ourselves because we're living in such great fear. So maybe the bad habit is living in fear, something like that. You'll know what it is for your situation. So take it or leave it, take it as it comes. That's everything that I actually have for you today. Now, because this today's message is meant to be on like how we're actually protecting ourselves, let's just move some of these cards so we can see a bit of both. How we can better protect ourselves with this situation. Do you love how like we'll have a topic or a question and Spirit has to like, not only are they giving you like lots of information around, you know, the scenario in which it's regarding, but they also never miss an opportunity to really pass on a message here with where we're at and what we might need help with or what decisions lay ahead of us. What this group could do to help protect themselves better. We spoke about having compassion for yourself, doing what you can to free yourself, letting go of the fear. Maybe that's what it is, particularly for this group. Some of you are living in this strong sense of fear where you don't want to let go because it seems like the fear around the subject, whatever that situation is for you, is so strong that we can't let go to like freely move enough to help ourselves move forward. Yeah. Some of you that might look like study, I'm not really sure, or some sort of learning. Some of you, it's going to be spending time to actually look into some sort of learning on how to actually better protect yourselves. If you're watching YouTube, then you have access to the internet. So there might be either some sort of study that you're looking into as to, like, I guess, set your future up for like a better, set yourself up for a better future moving forward. Some of you, this learning or studying could actually be around some sort of like the scenario that you're actually in. So for some of you, that may look like navigating like a legal situation. For some of you, it may look like navigating a separation or a housing market or, you know, some sort of like new job industry or marketplace. And some of you, it could be like navigating, you know, trauma. I don't want to really go down that pathway. There could be like a very small group here where that's what it looks like, and it sort of has like physical manifestations or something like that. I don't feel it's necessarily based in trauma, but it might be more about things like the patterns and the habits that play out in our lives where there is that self-saboteur energy, where we need to do some type of inner work around that to stop sabotaging ourselves. And quite literally the best protection we can give ourselves is to actually work on ourselves and stop sabotaging our own lives. And sometimes it looks like letting people into our lives that don't really have our best interests at heart, and it can actually be really hard to see. But I think if you look deep down in your heart, that maybe you can see that this person has something to gain and you don't want to let them go. So for some of you, it is a specific person, but I mean, we do have them marrying for money here. So it might not have necessarily been for money. It might have been comfort. It might have been security. You might have been placed into a position where you didn't get much of a choice in who you partnered with, sort of born out of circumstances of like despair or something. I don't really know what anyone's situation is. For some of you, it may not have been that at all. The marrying for money could have just been like representative of like being in society and making sure that we're like choosing people around us that are responsible. So maybe in choosing people that, you know, they do the thing where they buckle down and they get the steady 9-to-5 job that's secure and everything, they live confined to, you know, the restrictions of their lives that they've actually, you know, the foundation they've built their lives upon. And because of that, they're kind of like that shell of who they are as a person, because they're losing themselves to this restrictive energy to do and meet needs and fulfill the role they're supposed to play in life. And it kind of leaves us empty or full up on, consumed by emotions. Yeah, giving our emotions too much weight. I'm not sure. There'll definitely be like, I feel like for this group in particular, there's definitely, there might be like specific messages for like certain people and specific messages for like another group here. I definitely get the energy of some people being like in a relationship, but yeah, this creeping card still has some energy left in it. So there's definitely they're saying there's a person spying on you, whether you know it or not. It doesn't matter what this looks like. They're sort of trying to take away attention from the word spying and maybe place it on, that could look like looking at a social media or like checking up on you through different friends or something like that. There's an energy of a person being interested in what you do and trying to see it, trying to find it. Okay, again, use your own discernment. You'll know if that's already happening here. Could be a message for like a small group to be aware that there could be someone keeping an eye on you quite closely. And look, I don't feel like anyone can come in here and hurt you or anything like that, and my goal is not to scare people or anything at all. It might just be a case to I don't know, keep an eye out and see. I'm not really sure. Anyway, is there anything else? No, that's it. Okay. No, that's everything that I actually have for you today. Group 3. Oh, this is not group 3. This is group 2, and I've been saying group 3 the whole time. God. Maybe a bit of both group 2 and group 3. At this point, this could turn out to be one of those readings where each group is actually like representative of like a different person's perspective or different elements of the situation that are playing out. So for those of you that were drawn to group 3, by all means go check it out. If this resonated for you, like, comment, subscribe, and let us know. And I hope to see you again in another video. Thanks. Okay, if any of you made it here from group 2, there was a side note for a small group of people, and this could also be a mention for anybody walking into group 3. If you felt like you were drawn to group 2, then that might be a message for you to go back and watch that as well. So for the people in group 2 that this may resonate for, when I started to channel an energy of like a lot of sadness, not being like of a person that had not been afforded the privilege or the ability or something in life to actually like express their emotions or hold, like process them or hold space for them or even consider them. It's like the person lived in such survival they never got to. There is like a message there to sort of say that for those of you, like there was definitely having self-compassion for ourselves, but for that group of people, if you are that person, that you definitely do need to actually let yourself feel the emotions and embody them and express them, and that might be your way forward as well. So I might drop a note in the timestamps just to mention that there's that extra little message. I do feel like for the people that would resonate with, it could be extra confirmation that group 2 and group 3 are actually for you as well, like both for you. So yeah, okay, that feels like that's all we needed to say. I just wanted to make that distinction because I know there was a group of people there that were valuing their emotions too much, whereas there seemed to be another group that were not allowing themselves to really feel anything or express anything, okay? All right, so now we've got that out of the way. Welcome group 3. If you chose the sea glass, then this is your reading on how you can better protect yourselves. So I'm hoping everybody's doing it well. Okay, so one more maybe. Some of you may be experiencing some sort of loss here. Oh, this is too many cards. It's not too many, it was just too many for what I was going to do. Some people in this group may have like a strong connection to like the mother, if that resonates for anybody, like the great divine mother or Mother Earth, or I'm not sure. Okay, now, yeah, it's like some of you may experience loss, whether that's come through somebody else taking it from you or just a situation, maybe feeling like you were robbed of the good outcome or maintaining whatever the situation was. And I actually feel like through that loss, for some people in this group, you may be sitting in an energy of feeling like it's kind of like a lack mentality, where you're just, it's a lack mentality of the people around us, where we want to be a part of the group, we want to be accepted, we want friends, we want people to love us, and because of that, there's almost, what is it, like, we want acceptance and we want love. So because of that, we'll forego some of our own, like, needs or boundaries to be able to get it. And I think what you'll find is that it's like living in that scarcity mindset or using those tactics to try to keep ourselves afloat can end up being the thing that kind of sinks us. For some of you, this, you just keep in mind, this reading could play out in a way where the energies are flipped, and Spirit's not missing an opportunity here to develop it might be development for yourself or this other person, like understanding of a situation, how it develops, but to deliver a message. So it's like, what we want to know is how we can better protect ourselves. So they're laying out the foreground here of like, what's actually going on And I think I want to make a side note here, and it's been a heavy theme for today, to take things with a grain of salt. Exercise your own responsibility for discernment. You know your situation better than anybody else. I'm a person on the internet. Don't let a random person that, you know, basically you have responsibility for your own decision making. I'm not here to scare people. I'm just reading what the cards say and what comes through in the messages. You can, if you're unsure, use that as maybe confirmation on a situation that you already are experiencing or know about, or something like that. Yeah, okay. So what they're talking about is that maybe through this like lack mentality, you've let people into your lives that don't have the best intentions for you, or they want you to take something from you. Maybe they in turn give you a bad reputation, or they actually have a bad reputation, but despite knowing that, because we're acting out of this, like, I guess this loss or scarcity mindset, whatever it is, we're accepting them anyway. And I think it's because there's like a low level of like self-esteem here or something. Maybe one of the things someone robbed you of here was like this level of like emotional self-esteem. It doesn't have to be an ex-partner, it doesn't have to be a friend, doesn't have to be like, it could be a family member. I don't know. It doesn't have to be a specific person. It's rather the fact that that's maybe how we feel. Could have happened when we were growing up, I'm not sure. And maybe we felt like we had to conform to be able to get love, which is, you know, it's a pretty typical thing. Like, we're human beings, we live in groups, and when we're children, we're dependent on our caregivers and the people around us, right, to meet our needs. So yeah, I think maybe a lot of us are just living in scarcity tactics, not tactics, like as a form of scarcity. Some of you may have gotten really strategic, like a level of strategy was like born out of this situation or scenario, and it may be keeping you like obsessed with like certain people that you may feel have, you know, some sort of like better position or something like that than what you do. And maybe you can't help but be like watching what they're doing, or trying to find out what they're doing, or watching them online or something. Or maybe you just are paying such a level of attention to detail to the things that they do that you don't realize that your focus has then shifted outside of yourself. And that type of behavior could definitely erupt into some sort of like bad reputation here if it goes on like unchecked. For others of you, it's almost like an energy of like letting people into our lives that are not being good to us. There's even like a thing here too where the two could be kind of clouded or mixed together, where like there is a bit of like letting people into our lives that aren't great, and then out of, you know, being used to like having people with ill intent around us, we've had to develop like a level of strategy as kind of a survival type mechanism. And I think maybe sometimes we don't realize there's like a level of like paranoia here that can actually end up, I don't know, keeping us paying more attention to other people than ourselves. Yeah. Because you've got to remember, everything that happens here is like on a scale or a gradient in extremities. So like for some of you, it's like maybe a person who just like copies what you do, or they're kind of like low-key obsessed, or they strategize trying to spend more time with you or copying you or something like that. And then for others of you, this could be a much deeper level of almost like, I'm seeing like the impersonator card in my mind, where I don't know, and if it's not like impersonator, it's like they just can't help themselves, and they accidentally find themselves like checking in on you more than they should and things like that. I don't know, it's weird when it gets to that level or that extreme, like that end of the scale is what I'm saying. It gets weird. Now, whether this is you or the person that you're asking about, or that's coming through here, there's a person here that's like saying anything, doing anything, making things up and being dramatic because they're trying to like stamp down on something. Like, it's kind of like trying to gain control through a level of like exerting one's self-dominance or something in a situation. It's like, to get you to listen to me, I'm going to throw my weight around, or to get you to listen to me, I'm going to like, you know, be really staunch, or like almost a little bit like, what's the word? Like, I don't know, like a person might not physically throw their weight around, but they might like really throw their energy around in terms of like coming down hard, or like using a lot of like bravado, or exercising like assertiveness, or even like kind of that's like aggressive verbal communication or something like that, or wanting to put people in their place. That's what it is. It's like, yeah, wanting to put people in their place. And it's kind of this thing where it's like, it might be specifically directed towards people that like you do have, or they do, it could be both, right? Remember, the energy could be flipped here. That, you know, you or this person has a grudge that they're holding on to in regards to, and it's probably the person that you feel like has like robbed you of something. And when I say feel, I'm not trying to like invalidate a person's circumstance here. You just got to remember, I only know about this situation, what's coming through. So I can't actually see what happened. It's a person really could have done you wrong here and taken something from you that they shouldn't have at all. And there are others of you that like, it's kind of like a grey area where I can't really see. So maybe you just feel like they did take something, but I think there's a solid enough chunk here. I think, you know, this is a thing with readings, is because there's such like a nuanced perspective here, because there's like a bigger group of people, right? It's a collective. Even if it's a pick a card, it's still a collective of people coming into group 3. That there's kind of a duality in this message here, where you are the person that had something taken from you, and maybe out of that you then took something from other people, or like vice versa. It could have gone the other way around, where like you took something from someone else and then they got you back, or I don't know, I'm not sure. And I don't mean, it doesn't have to be tit for tat energy at all either. There's such nuance in life that I understand that like there's no way like based on just like a group reading like this that I could know what your situation is. Like, you know your situation better than anyone, okay? So you'll know whether you're the person that's like robbed someone or something, or a person that's like being clout hungry, even if that's like a behavior that was born out of this like lack mindset or scarcity tactics that you feel you have to exercise to be able to like really take control of a situation, because maybe you had to do that to get by. I'm not really sure. Like maybe you're holding a grudge on someone, maybe you're actually paying far too much attention to people outside of yourself instead of your actual self, and maybe that's painful, and I'm not really sure what you can do about it. Don't be the stalker. That would be a good start. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Let's take a minute. Do we have a message? We're going to pull more cards. Okay, so I'm going to quickly blow out one of these candles. There we go. Actually, before we pull more cards, we're going to use the Palo Santo. So I'm not sure. Maybe something here would bring something up for people in this group. I can't really tell. I want to take a moment to say that like general readings or messages are very different to like a private personal reading. If you feel drawn to, I'll have the link in, not the link, sorry, the email address that I use in the description box. Keep in mind, please, I don't actually ever reach out to people. You know, if you are wanting a private or personal reading, you can email me and I'll like you can tell me what you're wanting and we can work out a way to go with that. Okay, now that we've kind of cleared up some of that, we'll move forward. Some of you may be accepting kind of fake friends or something like that, or maybe not realizing that you're kind of entering into shallow relationships, like, and giving it more meaning than it really has. And that can be really hard to be on either side of that coin. And I think if you like value yourself more, you probably wouldn't fall into that trap. You know, it's easier said than done, but we're here for growth. So This is what Spirit is, or the message Spirit's wanting to share. Okay. So, what have we got here? So, taking charge of our lives, allowing ourselves to undergo like a transformative process that might actually be painful. Sometimes, like, the most painful thing we can do is undergo a transformation of developing self-worth, and it's because it comes from that place of lack, or like really not valuing ourselves to the extent that we should. We don't realize maybe how low our self-esteem or self-worth is, and it can be really painful to acknowledge that or to sit with it. And I think this is like a pretty common thing that comes up for people, is like, you know, having like a lack of self-love or something like that, and you might really have to like fight for it, or you might be, it's almost like Spirit might put you in a place of competition where you feel like you're having to compete with other people to like obtain this for you. And there's also a dualistic message here, that for some of you, you may think Spirit's put you in competition with other people to fight for your own self-worth, or to show it, or to gain approval or something. But the truth is that you never had to fight anyone else for it. You just had to fight yourself, what was really internal. What was, you know, yeah. Okay. And that you might find that when you start, like when you get that self-worth back, and you start showing or expressing that in like your personal relationships, you might have a lot of people fall away from you where the foundations just weren't there. The relationship wasn't there because it wasn't based on like a genuine connection. Because it was, and I don't know how to explain that, right? Because we can form friendships out of any place in life, like whether we have great self-worth or not. But I think what they're saying is that maybe we've made allowances for people out of our own lack of self-love, where we've kept people around that maybe weren't really good for us, and that we know that if we had actually said, hey, I don't like that, please don't do that to me, that you would have lost them, and you were like, you thought you needed them or something to be better. I'm not sure. The other side of this is that for those of you that are struggling with the control issues and whatnot, there is definitely still like that transformation that needs to happen, and it may actually happen through like the death of an old situation here. So like, it still feels like an inner journey. It still feels like a transformative process. Like a, what am I trying to say? Where does the stalker come in? Who's the stalker? You. Okay. Says anything, doesn't anything. They're just saying that I need to clarify like that stalker card, but I wanted to point out that not everyone in this group is or is dealing with a stalker, and it's what I was saying, that scale is not always as extreme as a literal stalker. It actually could just be paying far too much attention to a person in our lives, finding ourselves like, I don't know, maybe you're checking their social media and you don't even realize you're doing it, and then you're like, why am I doing this? Or like, maybe for some of you there is like a genuine message of, there could be someone, I don't know, that is like keeping up with you in some way. Maybe it is like, I don't know, I feel like you would know if you have a stalker. Okay. I understand that's not necessarily the case for people. This is, I don't even want to be like giving a message like this, and like I said, I'm not here to scare people. So I feel like if you just take normal precautions that you would, like when you go out, you lock your house, and like, you know, when you go somewhere that like maybe you don't, if you're going on like to a place where you know it's maybe not the most like wholesome environment, or you're going on your own or something, you let someone know where you're going, and you make sure that your phone is charged so that like you can ring someone if you need to, and you like don't go walking in the dark of a night time on your own or something like that. I don't know. I think if you can take normal precautionary measures that you would in your life without actually living in fear, because we don't want to do that, then that would be great. But that's not for everybody. I feel like it's such a small I'm not even sure it exists on that strong end of the scale, okay? So, like I said, we're using discernment here, and I want to leave that in its tracks. Okay, so there's that. I also want to mention that group 2, for those of you that were going there after here, group 2 actually also had like a creeping card pop out, where that could have been linked to a person keeping an eye on you. So yeah, okay. That's enough. That's everything that I actually have for group 3 today. Now, how to protect yourself, how to better protect yourself. It's like doing the inner work here, making sure, like, do you know what it is? It's like that being ourselves is like that rejection is like divine protection. And it's such a strong theme coming through here for this group that if we're just being ourselves, we're connecting, making genuine, authentic connections with other people that are actually more similar to us or value us as people. That we kind of shut out room for like fake friendships or shallow connections and things like that. And I think that like we'll find that when we have people around that we have like these genuine connections with, they're not going to put us in positions where we feel like we have to bow down to them or people please, or, you know, maybe that we're not going to feel like we need to exercise or exert a level of control, because we're going to be much more comfortable or secure within the relationships that we have. I'm not really sure where you stand on the scale here. I am seeing we have like some Aries, Martian energy. I think it's more Aries for me. Scorpio as well. And I mean, that makes sense, right? Because Aries and Scorpio can both be ruled by Mars. So there's like the real action orientated stuff here where it's like something happens and you want to take action. Instead of like sitting with it and feeling whatever's happening, it's like that outward external expression of like what's going on internally, and we're not actually processing it. I'd be really interested to see, you know, maybe where like Mars or Aries or Scorpio stacks up in a natal chart for you if you have one. You might not have them in your chart. It might just be like that energy coming through where, you know, I think like Aries are really action orientated and Scorpio can almost live in a level of like paranoia or being like, it's like protective energy. Do you know what it is? Because both Aries and Scorpio get me as protective and a little bit strategic. I think that's what it is. Yeah, protective and strategic. And, you know, they're both really quite strong. And I think they both display like a, what is it, like an instinctive, like an instinct, like maybe a primal instinct or something like that. So maybe some of you are finding that like you are acting, or this person is acting in ways that it's like more instinctual rather than like a thought out process or processing what we're experiencing before we move forward. It's kind of like it's really quick. Like I don't get the essence of time here, like taking its time at all. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe for some of you, you get really lost in this situation and it's kind of clouding your judgment. And then for others of you, it's like you're jumping the gun on taking action, and it's the work needs to be done, or that, yeah, something there. I'm not sure. Do you know, I get the energy here of being left on your own on your birthday. Obviously, you know, you can read the card how you want. It seems pretty self-explanatory when you look at it. There's a girl with some empty plates with like lit candles, and she's on her own. And I don't know, maybe there was people that you felt really let you down in times that were really important to you. I'm not sure. But if you are happy to share, please do so. If this resonated for you, like, comment, and subscribe. I hope that this was helpful or insightful in some way. Yeah, Spirit doesn't miss an opportunity to like pass on a message or really fill us in on all the details. And I don't know, I think for this group, how to better protect yourself is just to value yourself more and be who you are as a person more. But anyway, yeah, you take from it what you will. Thanks for being here, guys, and I'll see you all, and girls, whoever you are, doesn't matter. I'll see you all in another video. See ya.